Also testified that he witnessed Combs assault Cassie in their home and that he feared for his own life, but eventually befriended Cassie. Now, the person to testify before him was the hotel security guard who responded to the incident caught on surveillance video in that Los Angeles hotel back in 2016 when Diddy was caught on video assaulting Cassie. And he testified that Diddy threw a sack of money at him in their hotel room afterwards to keep quiet.
This testimony.
The latest witness to take the stand today is a man named Daniel Phillips, and he was a male strip show manager. He would manage male strippers who would perform for things like bachelorette parties. But he said that he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura back in 2013 in a New York City hotel while Sean Diddy Combs allegedly sat in the corner, watched, and masturbated.
The testimony continued with increasingly graphic details.
This morning, his family entered the courthouse while leaving a black van. This includes his children, his sons, and also his twin daughters. His family has heard graphic allegations of the alleged sexual encounters, and his daughters walked out during that time.
Here, Taco Pina also took time to address persistent rumors that his relationships with Jay-Z and Roc Nation played a role in his decision, offering a rare window into the inner workings of high-profile legal representation. While Taco Pina's decision appeared straightforward, the true reasons for Rico's exit remain far more mysterious and complex. What is known is that Rico communicated with lead attorney Mark Agnello before leaving, indicating that at least some level of coordination or advance warning existed within the team. Still, with no confirmed information about what drove Rico away, various theories have emerged. Ethical concerns, strategic disagreements, overwhelming media attention, or perhaps the review of evidence that crossed the line. Some believe Rico might have encountered evidence, possibly audio or video, that troubled him greatly, though there's no direct confirmation this occurred in open court or was shared with the full defense team. Regarding other potential audio evidence, it's worth noting that in 2023 there was a rumored leak involving Diddy and Meek Mill, but this was later dismissed as a fake and irrelevant to the legal proceedings. No reliable reports have surfaced confirming that any authentic case-relevant audio was played or disclosed to the defense before February 21st, 2025. Nevertheless, the circumstances of Rico's sudden withdrawal set off a wave of speculation across social media, with users on X and Reddit describing the departure as both dramatic and deeply mysterious. The lack of clear explanations only heightened public curiosity, especially given the unprecedented attention this case has received. As the case inched closer to trial without Rico, Diddy's legal troubles continued to escalate. In addition to the criminal charges, he faced a barrage of civil lawsuits alleging sexual assault abuse, allegations he dismissed as attempts to profit from his fame. The criminal trial, projected to last between 8 and 10 weeks, attracted a parade of celebrities, journalists, and curious onlookers, further intensifying the already charged atmosphere in the courtroom. By May 2025, when the trial finally commenced, Diddy's defense team had clearly settled on a narrative. His actions reflected a consensual adult swinger lifestyle, not criminal misconduct. Prosecutors, on the other hand, argued relentlessly that there was a consistent pattern of coercion and violence. This mirrored the defense strategy Joe Tacopina had previously predicted. On May 12, 2025, as the first day of testimony began, the prosecution called their star witness, a former security guard who had responded to the infamous 2016 hotel incident.
The second witness of the day said he was told by his boss that he was going to perform at a bachelorette party at the Gramercy Park Hotel, but when he arrived, he saw Cassie in red lingerie and a red wig. He testified she said that they would rub baby oil on each other and would see where things would go from there while her husband was there. Combs was allegedly in a corner in a white robe, concealing his face with a bandana.
Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani, commenting on the trial, noted the importance of the video evidence in the prosecution's case.
It's because, again, you have someone who is going to be very sympathetic. She's a pregnant woman. She is a victim, admittedly, at least of physical violence. The defense is going to argue that she was not sexually assaulted. But I think you have to be careful, because if you're very aggressive, and obviously you want to do a good job for your client, if you're a defense lawyer, you can really turn off.
The guard's testimony, coupled with the surveillance video, became a linchpin of the prosecution's case. Even without Rico and the team, the video leaked to the public in May 2024 showed Diddy physically confronting Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway, an incident for which he later issued a public apology. The judge permitted the video into evidence, ruling that it would not unfairly prejudice the jury. jury, despite the defense team's attempts to have it excluded on grounds of manipulation by CNN. As the trial continues to unfold, Anthony Rico's absence remains an unresolved subplot in a high-profile saga filled with twists and turns. Whether his exit was prompted by exposure to sensitive audio evidence, a crisis of ethics, strategic disagreements, or another undisclosed issue, it represents a turning point in the legal battle against one of the music industry's most powerful figures. Each day brings new testimony, unexpected revelations, and mounting tension as the trial moves forward. When Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial kicked off in May 2025, Rico's absence was only one of the many dramatic elements swirling around what has become one of the most talked about legal battles in the entertainment industry. The proceedings at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Lower Manhattan have garnered wall-to-wall media coverage, with every detail scrutinized by legal experts and the general public alike. The jury selection process, which began on May 5, 2025, was particularly rigorous. Prospective jurors faced an exhaustive questionnaire, probing their knowledge of the case, experiences with media coverage, personal history with sexual assault or domestic violence, views on law enforcement, opinions of hip-hop culture, and attitudes towards sex, drugs, violence, and non-traditional relationships. This thorough vetting was seen as essential, given the case's fame and the sensitive nature of the allegations. By May 12, 2025, a jury of 12 main jurors and 6 alternates, 12 men and 6 women in total, had been seated, allowing the trial to move forward with opening statements and the first witnesses. The defense, now led by Mark Agnello and supported by Tenny Garagos, Brian Steele, and others, pressed the argument that consent was the central issue, suggesting that the alleged victims were willing participants who benefited from their association with Diddy. Fox 5 reporter Michelle Ross, who covered the first day of the trial, described some of the dramatic testimony heard in court.
You know, look, I didn't turn him down because I don't like him or I don't believe in his case. I think he's got a very defensible case.
Diddy's courtroom saga just took a stunning and unpredictable twist. One of his own elite lawyers, right in the heat of legal battle, stepped down, leaving the entire courtroom in disbelief. This wasn't just any departure. The resignation happened in the middle of a high-stakes case, right after some jaw-dropping audio was played in court. But here's the part that's truly confounding. This is not the first time a leading attorney for Diddy has exited the scene. In fact, one of Diddy's top legal minds had already departed even before the trial officially began. Whatever is at play in this legal showdown, it's causing even the most accomplished and resolute lawyers in the business to make a hasty exit. In this video, we're breaking down exactly what led Diddy's lawyer to walk away. What was in that mysterious audio that rattled everyone in the courtroom, and how these events could unravel everything Diddy has worked so hard to keep hidden from the public eye. Strap in, because the details behind this legal bombshell are about to be revealed. The scene inside the courtroom was nothing short of electrifying when news broke of the resignation. In a move that blindsided both the legal community and the public, Diddy's prominent defense attorney, Anthony Rico, officially withdrew from the case just 3 months before the highly anticipated trial was set to commence. The timing could not have been more suspicious, given the gravity of the charges Diddy is facing: sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transporting individuals for illicit purposes. If the verdict swings against him, Diddy is staring down the possibility of spending the remainder of his life behind bars. But before we unpack the details behind Rico's sudden departure, let's consider who Anthony Rico is and why his stepping down carries such enormous implications. Anthony Rico is not your average courtroom defender. This is a legal powerhouse whose career accomplishments put most attorneys to shame. Rico's professional background includes tackling some of the most complex and high-profile cases in recent memory, such as the World Trade Center bombing conspiracy and the 1998 embassy bombing. His biography, available on the Forum Law University website, highlights his expertise and credibility, noting that he has served as lead defense counsel in up to 45 federal death penalty cases. Beyond his courtroom victories, Rico imparts his knowledge as a law professor, and he has been practicing law with distinction since as far back as 1982. With his extensive experience in federal cases carrying the highest stakes, Rico was considered the ace up Diddy's sleeve when he joined the defense. Rico became part of Diddy's legal team soon after Diddy's arrest in September 2024, teaming up alongside another legal heavyweight, Alexander Shapiro. Shapiro himself is no stranger to high-profile defense work, having represented Sam Bankman-Fried, who by coincidence was Diddy's neighbor in the same detention facility. Their arrival boasted an already formidable group, which included established names like Mark Agnello and Tenny Garagos. Together, they built what many saw as an indomitable legal wall around Diddy. But then, on February 24, 2025, just months before Diddy was set to have his day in court, Rico detonated a legal bombshell. He filed a motion to withdraw from the case, shocking everyone involved. The language in his request was both cryptic and deeply alarming. For the reasons set forth below, this motion for withdrawal is filed so that Sean Combs may move forward with his defense and to commence jury selection and trial without any delay. Due to attorney-client privilege, the precise reason for Rico's exit remains sealed, but the abrupt nature and vague wording of his statement set the rumor mill ablaze. Legal insiders quickly started to speculate. Was there a clash over defense strategy, or did new troubling evidence force Rico's hand? Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani weighed in with his analysis during an interview with Law and Crime.
Significant, and it's tough to know the reason why. It could be any number of possibilities. Sometimes it's when the lawyer hasn't been paid, but we know obviously Diddy doesn't have that problem. He's got plenty of money. It could be a disagreement regarding defense strategy. It could be a conflict. It could be a health issue. It really could be anything, and the paperwork doesn't identify it, nor should it.
The confusion around Rico's sudden departure grew even more intense when you consider his behavior leading up to that day. By all accounts, Rico seemed fully committed to Diddy's defense. Observers in the courtroom described how Rico would be seen in close conversation with Diddy, exchanging notes during hearings, and even offering supportive gestures like hugs. He went out of his way to inform the presiding judge about the sacrifices Diddy's family made, traveling significant distances to attend court, which suggested a genuine personal investment. When asked about what could have triggered Rico's exit, Rahmani outlined several plausible scenarios.
Potentially, it could be a conflict with the client, right? A disagreement. They just don't get along. The communication is poor. They don't agree on defense strategy. It could be conflict with one of the other lawyers. Obviously, it seems like Agnifilo is the lead on this case, although Rico was certainly his 1B.
He also threw out another interesting possibility.
And then it could be a conflict with one of the victims themselves. Maybe maybe Rico consulted with them or even represented them in such a way that he has to get off the case.
He also introduced another intriguing possibility.
Those are very difficult motions to win. So it's essentially a selective prosecution motion. And the example I always like to give is, let's say you're speeding and a police officer pulls you over. It's not a legal defense to say, well, all these other people were speeding, but you didn't pull them over and ticket them. You have to show that the prosecution is for a constitutionally prohibited reason. Obviously, race being one of them.
Despite Rico's abrupt decision, Diddy's legal defense did not collapse. The team remained robust with 5 attorneys still actively engaged. Mark Agnello, Tenny Garagos, Alexander Shapiro, Jason Adriscoll, and Anna Estow. According to Rico's formal paperwork, his withdrawal was structured so as not to interfere with the case's timeline, and government prosecutors did not object, since Rico had already coordinated his decision with Agnello prior to filing. The expectation was that the judge would approve his exit without delay. Still, the timing of Rico's departure raised significant suspicion, particularly as it came just days after Diddy's team filed a motion to dismiss one of the counts against him. The specific charge was transportation to engage in prostitution, listed as the 3rd count in the indictment. Diddy's attorneys sought to have it thrown out, arguing that it originated from a law rooted in racism, a law that, they contended, had never been used against a white offender. This charge falls under the Mann Act, originally known as the White Slave Traffic Act, which prohibits transporting individuals across state or international lines for prostitution. Diddy's lawyers asserted that the law has a deeply problematic history of racial bias. When asked if this legal argument had merit, Rahmani was highly skeptical.
Look, I didn't turn him down because I don't like him or I don't believe in his case. I think he's got a very defensible case.
He broke down what he sees as the main issue.
To me, this whole case boils down to an issue of consent, right? And as far as I know, I don't know all the evidence, but it's an issue of consent, right? Did they consent or did they not? I mean, was a gun put to someone's head, or did they want to do it because they were getting all the perks associated with being part of a Diddy party and being one of Diddy's entourage, right? Did he buy him a house or cars and stuff? He didn't have to buy anyone a car or a house.
As we dig further into the details, the central question grows more urgent. What could possibly have compelled Anthony Rico, a veteran lawyer with decades of experience in high-stakes, high-pressure cases, to suddenly declare "I'm out" when representing one of the music industry's biggest icons? Was it all tied to some audio evidence that reportedly surfaced in court? The mystery surrounding the audio evidence only deepened public fascination. As speculation swirled around Rico's exit, rumors began spreading about a link between his departure and an audio recording that was supposedly played during proceeding. Interestingly, the most explosive audio-visual evidence in the case, a 2016 surveillance video depicting Diddy and his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura inside a Los Angeles hotel, wasn't shown to the court until May 2025, months after Rico's departure. This video, which included audio of Cassie calling for security reportedly left the entire courtroom in stunned silence when it was finally presented. But Rico had already left by then. Rico had joined Diddy's defense in September 2024 shortly after their arrest and worked intensely for about 5 months as the team prepared for trial. Several pivotal developments occurred during this window, including pre-trial hearings and heated debates about the inclusion of specific pieces of evidence. On October 10, 2024, Judge Aaron Subramanian officially set the trial for May 5, 2025, and took the unusual step of addressing concerns about potential leaks by federal agents. Later, on December 18, 2024, prosecutors met for a brief hearing about evidence disclosure, but audio evidence was never mentioned on record. Then, on February 3, 2025, Diddy was scheduled for a court appearance, but this was postponed due to his reported hospitalization. Only a few weeks later, on February 21st, Rico filed his motion to withdraw. The proximity and timing, coming right after Diddy's defense tried to challenge the Mann Act charge on grounds of racial bias, sparked new rounds of speculation. Some wondered if there were internal divisions within the defense team over this controversial strategy. Legal expert Joe Tacopina, who had been approached to join Diddy's team but ultimately declined, also shared his thoughts on the unfolding case.
My turning it down was because I had Rocky's trial coming up. And a host of other things. So it's not about, I don't think he's innocent or I don't like him or anything like that. It's not that at all. It was just timing for me. It really was more about timing than anything.
Interestingly, Tacopina also has rumors that his relationship with Jay-Z and Roc Nation
Taken way out of it. I do have a great relationship with Jay and Roc Nation. I represent a lot of them. I think that was, first of all, I know of no personal issue between Jay and Diddy. I have no personal knowledge of that. So someone, I think it was on the Breakfast Club, sort of extrapolated that, but that would have nothing to do with it. No one at Roc
Tacopina's remarks highlighted the emerging strategy of Diddy's defense, arguing that all acts were consensual and that the accusers were motivated by financial incentives. This position became the backbone of the defense's case as the trial launched in May 2025. When asked why he chose not to represent Diddy, Tacopina cited scheduling conflicts rather than any doubts about the case's merits.
Responded with a firm absolutely not.
Do you believe that she died of pneumonia?
Absolutely not.
Why? What evidence do you have?
She was in the best of health. We just saw each other prior to her passing.
Having multiple accusers tell similar stories is a powerful weapon for the prosecution in a case that hinges on the credibility of witnesses. A pattern of behavior established through the testimonies of several victims greatly strengthens the prosecution's argument that Diddy was at the center of a criminal enterprise exploiting vulnerable women. But the influence of his trial extends far beyond Diddy himself. Observers have described it as a potential reckoning for the entire music industry, bringing long whispered rumors of abuse and exploitation out of the shadows. When asked whether this case could represent a turning point, supporter of the accusers Jaguar Wright offered her perspective.
This could be the case, yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
My first time saying it.
Are you concerned that he still has power outside of incarceration?
Remember, I'm the only one who spoke up, and I'm the only one left alive.
For Diddy personally, the stakes could not be higher. If convicted on all charges, he faces a minimum of 15 years in prison with the possibility of a life sentence. The list of charges, racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, each carry significant penalties. Even as the trial unfolds, Anthony Rico's absence remains a topic of speculation. Whether driven by ethical considerations, strategic disagreements, or another hidden factor, his departure forced the defense team to adapt, but did not fundamentally alter their core arguments centered on consent. It is important to note that Rico served as Diddy's counsel for approximately 5 months, from September 2024 to February 21st, 2025. During this period, he contributed to crucial strategic decisions and the early review of evidence, likely shaping the initial direction of the defense. His exit may have necessitated adjustments, though the focus on consent persisted. The addition of Brian Steele, who our broad experience from representing Young Thug in Georgia's longest ever criminal trial, added further strength to the team. Even without Rico, Diddy's defense remains staffed by attorneys with significant experience in high-profile cases. As the legal drama continues, the true reason behind Rico's sudden departure may never become public knowledge, as attorney-client privilege shields those details. What is certain is that each new day of the trial brings fresh testimony, evidence, and headlines that will ultimately decide Diddy's fate. Remember when Cat Williams made that bold statement?
I think they're going to talk about some of the things that came up in opening statement, right? The jealousy, the fact that she stayed in this relationship for more than a decade. I mean, these are all the questions that the jurors are going to have. That's why the prosecution is going to try to bring in an expert witness that's going to talk about the psychology of an abuse victim, you know, why someone might stay in a relationship, even though they're being physically and sexually abused.
The main question in this trial revolves around force, fraud, or coercion, elements needed to prove.
talking about the baby oil, and it came up during Garagos' opening statement. She said there's nothing illegal about, having a lot of baby oil. But baby oil is important to the allegations in the case because you saw Philip come and testify that Combs wanted Cassie covered in baby oil when he was filming them having sex. He would assault her and Philip would become uncomfortable, grab her by the hair.
He continued.
So we're really seeing what the government is saying with respect to the force element. Yeah, the case isn't about baby oil, but it's about Combs's manipulation and forcing Cassie Ventura to have sex under his terms, which
These details align closely with the prosecution's narrative, which described the so-called freak-offs as coercive and exploitative encounters, while the defense insisted that these were consensual adult experiences. The prosecution heavily relied on testimony from individuals such as Phillips and Israel Flores, a former security guard who responded to the 2016 hotel incident captured on video.
Because P. Diddy be wanting the body, and you gotta tell him no.
Well, Monique didn't hold back either when she backed him up.
Everything Cat Williams sat here and said.
Right.
The freak-offs described by both sides became the focal point of the trial, with the prosecution characterizing as exploitative scenarios involving victims under the influence of substances such as ecstasy, cocaine, and GHB. In contrast, the defense maintained that these were simply unconventional, yet consensual, adult activities that did not cross the line into criminality. A major development in the case came when it was reported that Diddy had rejected a plea deal on May 1st, 2025. The specifics of the offer were not disclosed, but Diddy's decision to proceed to trial suggested either a strong belief in his defense or an unwillingness to admit guilt to any charge. Outside of the criminal proceedings, Diddy faces a staggering total of over 63 civil lawsuits, spanning decades and alleging a range of sexual misconduct, harassment, and abuse. Claims that stretch from the 1970s through to 2023. This massive volume of accusations has created a complex backdrop for criminal trial, even though the civil cases are technically handled separately. Legal expert Nima Rahmani addressed the growing number of allegations in his commentary.
This is a case that's going to be aggressive. It's going to be about cross-examination, and I think Cassie may take the stand as early as tomorrow, and there are going to be fireworks. I think one important takeaway, too, is we didn't know if victim number 3 would show up or testify. At least in their opening statement, the prosecution talked about a victim 3. So, obviously, if you're trying this case, you want more victims to tell the same story. So if indeed victim 3 shows up, I think that helps the government's case.
Here, former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani commented on the trial, emphasizing the powerful impact of the video evidence in shaping the prosecution's case.
You got to realize, man, Kim's death wasn't even investigated, bro. Her death wasn't even investigated. And it should have been a proper investigation so all the family members can feel like that there was no foul play in her death.
Here, Monique, another outspoken figure, didn't hesitate to back him up.
Her casket was ordered 2 months before she died. I don't believe that, man. I swear. I'm not no conspiracy theorist or none of that. But I heard, did you hear something like that, man? That her casket, how you order a gold casket 2 months?
This development posed a significant challenge for the defense, which had to navigate the delicate task of cross-examining witnesses like Cassie Ventura, who was pregnant at the time, without appearing unsympathetic or aggressive in the eyes of the jury. Rahmani explained that issues such as jealousy and the longevity of Cassie's relationship with Diddy would inevitably play a role in the jury's perception. The prosecution, anticipating this, planned to call an expert witness on the psychology of abuse victims to explain why someone might remain in a relationship marked by alleged abuse. The central legal question in the trial revolves around whether force, fraud, or coercion was present, key elements required to prove sex trafficking. Rahmani elaborated on these requirements.
Cat Williams sat here and said,
Right.
We all know it to be the truth. However, we get so caught up in, well, I ain't gonna say nothing.
Right.
Well, can you believe he said it? Or can you...
Or it's the messenger.
It's the messenger, baby. We get so caught up in the messenger that we'll overlook the message. People have a hard time hearing a 5'5" giant tell the truth. People have a hard time with a black woman over 200 pounds
here, but Monique didn't stop there. She hinted that Kim Porter's death might not have been as straightforward as it appeared. That's when things took a darker turn, with some insiders claiming that Diddy didn't just ignore her remarks, he may have quietly moved to silence her. In this video, we're examining the alleged threats, insider reports, and chilling accusations that have emerged. Diddy is currently incarcerated, facing a mountain of legal challenges, over 63 lawsuits and serious federal criminal charges that have shaken the foundation of his once mighty empire. The man who once dominated the hip-hop world now battles for his freedom in a Manhattan courtroom, charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution. The trial officially began on May 12, 2025, but the story doesn't end with Diddy's current legal woes. There's a deeper, more disturbing narrative developing, one that connects him to the mysterious death of his former partner, Kim Porter, and how Monique may have been caught in the crossfire after speaking out. Let's rewind and revisit the circumstances. Kim Porter was Diddy's on and off partner from 1994 to 2007. Together, they had 3 children. Christian, born 1998, and twin daughters Jessie James and Delilah Starr, born 2006. Diddy also took on a parental role for Porter's son Quincy from her previous relationship. Even after their breakup, Diddy and Porter maintained a close co-parenting relationship. By all accounts, Diddy was deeply affected when Porter died. Suddenly in 2018 at the age of 47, the official cause of death, according to the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office, was pneumonia. The case seemed closed until now, as Diddy's reputation has crumbled under the weight of numerous sexual assault allegations. New questions have arisen about Porter's death. The intrigue only increased when, in a recent interview, Porter's ex, Al B. Sure, made some startling claims. When asked directly if he believed Porter died from pneumonia, he replied with conviction, "Absolutely not."
I called him up, and I said, "Hey, I just got a call to let you know how proud I am of your standing the way you standing. I'm so proud of your goddamn. I don't even know what to tell you. I just want to hug your little."
The close relationship.
Pierre B. Sure records seeing Porter at a Netflix event for their son's Christmas special, where she appeared healthy and in good spirits. Diddy was also present, and everything seemed normal, but Al B. Sure dropped another bombshell. When questioned about whether he thought Diddy or his associates were involved in Porter's sudden demise.
It's to my ex, the wonderful Kim Porter, the late Kim Porter, who, kind of warned me all along the way to, just kind of watch your back, so on and so forth, and I didn't understand why.
Because of Diddy.
Here, these are weighty allegations, but the questions do not end there. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has also voiced doubts about the official investigation into Porter's death, pointing to several suspicious circumstances.
That you know how we are as a people. I don't believe that 10% of your viewers that's watching this don't keep their phone when they go to sleep in arm reach. How is it that there was no electronic products or gadgets around Kim bed? Her laptop missing, her cell phone's missing. Everything is missing that she could get in touch with her little girl if they not at home or her friends or family. All that's missing.
One of the most bizarre claims Deal mentioned involved the condition of Porter's casket.
And this is her say that the detectives did not even view the body in the bed where she died at. That the coroner had already removed her, pronounced her dead, and told the detectives that it was no foul play. And if that is true, as I've heard it, and we read certain things on the internet about it, that case need to be reopened.
Despite these suspicions, official autopsy reports confirmed that Porter was suffering from flu-like symptoms, including a high fever in the days leading up to her death. She had received antibiotics and medical care. The coroner found no evidence of foul play, classifying her death as natural. Porter's children have repeatedly condemned conspiracy theories about their mother's passing, calling them not only false but also deeply painful, an assessment that aligns with the official ruling. Now let's turn to Monique, whose involvement has added yet another layer to this story. Monique is a comedian and Academy Award-winning actress known for speaking her mind. often challenging powerful figures in the entertainment industry. She has had highly publicized disputes with Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and others. Lately, she has shifted her focus to Diddy. In April 2024, during a stand-up show in Louisville, Kentucky, Monique made pointed jokes about T.D. Jakes and Tyler Perry, linking them to the ongoing Diddy controversy. This wasn't an offhand remark. Jakes had been named in a lawsuit filed against Diddy by Rodney Lil Rod Jones in February 2024. Jones claimed to have irrefutable evidence of Diddy, detailing how he hoped to use his relationship with to soften the public fallout from Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. Monique has also been a vocal supporter of Cat Williams, who has been outspoken about Diddy for years. In January 2024, Williams appeared on the Club Shay Shay podcast, predicting that all these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. Monique soon joined him on the same podcast, defending Williams and echoing his sentiments.
We know that Kim, and it's in the this is in the documentation, shout out the paperwork. At the paperwork part, I gotta shout him out, man, because he looked in the paperwork and it said Kim received a massage for about an hour when she's supposed to have full-blown pneumonia. Who gives somebody a massage when they got pneumonia? And do we know whether she used that baby oil or not for that massage? It makes you say,
Diddy's former bodyguard expressed support for Al B. Sure.
I don't think nobody would be paying for some security if they didn't think their life was in danger. So I could see Al doing that. I understand why Al...
Messenger, baby. We get so caught up in the messenger that we'll overlook the message. People have a hard time hearing a 5'5" giant tell the truth. People have a hard time with a black woman over 200 pounds.
About his safety.
You heard about Al B. Sure increasing his security?
You know, I spoke to Al a couple of times, and he texted me a couple of times too. I think knowing the history of them two, if he did increase his security, he have every right to. And I believe that Al knows that Puff has some powerful people, or has some powerful people around him, and some people doing some things for him that...
This appearance, Monique announced she was joining Williams on his Dark Matter stand-up tour, calling him her twin brother. Their partnership added to their reputations as truth-tellers within the entertainment industry. In one of her performances, Monique was caught on video expressing her immense respect for Williams.
Nobody would be paying for some security if they didn't think their life was in danger. So I could see Al doing that. I understand why Al...
Speaking truth to power.
If it's your story and it's the truth, tell it. Because what you can do is be in a position to prevent it happening to someone else over and over and over again. So if I go back to the 11th grade with that sister who's no longer with us, rest her with that sister, we're in the position we are now as a community, as a black community, as a community in entertainment. Everybody's been so afraid to say, look what they did to me. Look what they said. And it's like, oh, well, listen now, we don't want to ruffle no feathers, especially if the messenger doesn't fit what people should think.
Only way like you kind of know how important it is. So all the heartache that anybody's ever been through, you know, all of the loss that people have gone through, that's the thing that really makes you appreciate the times that you actually felt that and actually received that love. You know, when you lose that unconditional love, that's the one that has you respect. Put some respect on love's name.
Given their close alliance and their shared criticism of Diddy, questions have arisen about whether Monique has faced threats over her outspoken views. Although there is no direct evidence linking Diddy to any threats against Monique, specifically regarding Kim Porter, the timing of her remarks and her connection to Williams, who has been warning about Diddy for years, could put her in a precarious position. Examining the relationship between Diddy and Kim Porter reveals further complications. Their partnership, which lasted from 1994 to 2007, appeared strong in public, but numerous sources suggest suggest that it may have been fraught with control and turmoil behind the scenes. According to several reports, Diddy exhibited controlling behaviors. In The Fall of Diddy, a documentary series that premiered in January 2025, Daniel Smith, the former editor-in-chief of Vibe magazine, recounted first-hand instances of Diddy's treatment of Porter. Smith described Diddy as harsh and domineering, referencing a story where Diddy publicly embarrassed Porter at a nightclub, demanding she leave and emptying her purse in front of friends. Smith's allegations are echoed by other media reports. In October 2024, Hindustan Times published an article quoting an insider who worked closely with Diddy and Porter, claiming Diddy's controlling behavior extended to instances of domestic violence during their 13-year relationship. Similarly, Mara magazine reported that Diddy's relationship with Porter was under renewed scrutiny as his legal issues mounted, drawing parallels to the claims made by Cassie Ventura in her 2023 lawsuit. To be clear, Diddy and his legal team have always denied these allegations. In
position we are now as a community, as a black community, as a community in entertainment, everybody's been so afraid to say, look what they did to me. Look what they said. And it's like, oh, well, listen now, we don't want to ruffle no feathers, especially if the messenger doesn't fit what people should think the messenger.
Monique defended Williams, saying,
"It's the messenger, baby. We get so caught up in the messenger that we'll overlook the message. People have a hard time hearing a 5'5" giant tell the truth. People have a hard time with a black woman over 200 pounds. Cat Williams sat here and said,
Right.
We all know it to be the truth. However, we get so caught up in, well, I ain't gonna say nothing.
Right.
Well, can you believe he said it? Or can you?
Or it's the messenger.
It's the messenger, baby. We get so caught up in the messenger that we'll overlook the message. People have a hard time hearing a 5'5" giant tell the truth. People have a hard time with a black woman over 200 pounds. Get to a space where you say, listen, I want to be free. I want to be free. I don't want to walk around intimidated, scared, fearful. What might happen? What they gonna say? What they gonna do? If it's your story and it's the truth.
In response to Daniel Smith's account in The Fall of Diddy, Diddy's attorneys dismissed the claims as pure fiction. As of May 13th, 2025, there have been no legal findings or convictions relating to this specific allegation. In September 2024, the controversy deepened with the release of a supposed memoir, Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side, published on Amazon. The 60-page book, allegedly based on Porter's diary entries, outlined claims of physical abuse by Diddy, as well as other allegations about their relationship, including an open relationship and sexual misconduct. However, the authenticity of the memoir was quickly challenged. Porter's children issued a joint statement on Instagram on September 25th, 2024, declaring the book entirely false, stating that their mother did not write it and that anyone who claimed otherwise was misrepresenting themselves. The memoir was removed from Amazon on October 2nd, 2024, following disputes over its authenticity, with an Amazon spokesperson confirming its removal. Diddy's attorney Erica Wolf labeled the memoir a fake and offensive attempt to exploit tragedy for profit. Although the memoir's credibility was debunked, its brief availability and the shocking allegations within fueled ongoing public debate about Diddy and Porter's relationship. This is where the story takes an even more fascinating turn.